Hey guys, it is Adam in the Aeroworks workshop, and thanks again for tuning in. We just got rolling, so we'll give it a few minutes here, let people join. We always ask that you drop your name and comment what you're building, where you're from. Drop it in the live chat comment section there, and we will be sure to answer questions and say hi and let us know what you're building. So we'll give it a few minutes here, or just a couple seconds, let people join in. How's everybody doing? It is another Saturday Night Live, and last week we were working on the left wing of the Super Duty, and I believe we left off on drilling out the remainder of the A5 holes because we had to upsize some of the skins, and we had to drill out the spar. So that was something. Hey Bob, good to see you again. Bob's building the Super Duty along with us there. So we were drilling out the front, or the main spar. We were drilling out the remaining nose ribs on the left wing, and then off camera after that last episode, I went ahead and drilled out all the remaining ribs, a few more remaining holes in the front of the wing, and then got it kind of all taken apart. So when we cut over to the wing here in a bit, we'll be showing you where we're at. We're going to start by cleaning up the wing inside, and then kind of laying out. We've got a lot of stuff to start laying out. We've got wiring for the strobes and LEDs. We've got a pitot tube. We've got a pitot static system. So we've got a lot of stuff going on there. Hey Scott, good to have you back. And Fred is here. Good to see Fred. Haven't seen Fred in a while. I know he's building the Super Duty. So everybody in here so far is building a Super Duty. That's awesome. Which reminds me, right as of today, as of right before we started this, we now have 992 members in the Super Duty group, which is pretty amazing. It's hard enough for me to get 6 kids to the dinner table, let alone 992 people to join a forum or a group. Now we know they're not all builders, but a lot of them are at least thinking about being builders. That's one of the questions we ask. Are you a builder? Yes, no, or are you thinking of ordering a kit? And we're really looking for people to be involved in the group and hopefully contribute when you get down the road, or ask questions, or all the above. So that's what we're doing today. So today we've got a few different cameras set up. We've got obviously this one here. We've got a small work table where we're going to be cleaning up some of the angle from the wing skins. We had just cleat-coat on there. They were on the top, of course. While you're doing your drilling of your wing skins, you usually mount them on the outside because you can't get to the inside. So we're going to be removing the rest of those stickers, kind of cleaning those pieces up. And then I want to take you over to the main wing and show you a boo-boo that we made. I actually talked to Roger on the phone today. He actually was not working today, but he called me because he saw the email that I sent. I had a question about some holes that I had drilled, and Roger's in the group tonight. So thanks for joining us, Roger. So we're going to talk about that and what you can do to fix that issue. And then we're going to proceed on, like I said, just cleaning up the wing and moving forward. As always, if you've got questions, if we're ahead of you in your build, or you got a question, or you've got a comment or a recommendation for something you've already done that maybe will help us or another builder, feel free to leave a comment down there, and we will definitely share that. As always, when we shoot the live videos, they're being shot right now live, and about an hour or two after the video ends, the full video, well, the video is up immediately, but the chat, all the comments, all the live comments that go on throughout the show will be available for replay. So these stay up forever. We put them in both the Super Duty build playlist. So if you're following that whole series, you can watch them there. And we also have a live playlist. So if you want to just watch all the live videos, those are in there, and they're right below on the YouTube channel playlist there. All right. Oh, and Bill's in tonight. Hey, Bill, how's it going? So we got all of our regular people here building different variants of the Super Duty. So I want to go ahead and we'll jump over to the wing here, and I'm going to talk about the issue that I brought up with Roger in an email. And this is something that I didn't even notice I did on the first wing, but apparently I did it on the second wing. And I'm going to show you the drawings and where you can potentially make that same little mistake. So actually, let me show you the drawings first. So I'm going to turn to the page here, and I'll jump over to the plans table, and we'll get a close-up of the plans here. So we have in the plans where the wings are shown, whether you're looking at the top skins or you're looking at the underside, of course this is the bottom of the wing because you've got the strut brackets here, you're only seeing one of the wings, right? So in this case at the top here, this is the right wing, this is also the right wing, this is the right wing. Everything's the right wing. So if you're working on your left wing, you kind of have to reverse everything because there are some things that can get you there. And the specific joint that we're talking about for me on the nose skins was these two large sections here that wrap. Of course, they start on the bottom because you build your bottom first. And then the skins wrap around up to the spar, and then they overlap the top skins. But this joint right here, you'll notice that we have this skin here and we have this skin here. And what I had done was the overlap here, I had one under the other in the wrong order. So you can actually put all the skins on the bottom of the fuselage, or excuse me, the bottom of the wing on the ribs, and all the holes line up. But as soon as you start wrapping that nose skin around the nose ribs, you start noticing that if your holes here don't line up between the two skins, and we can actually go to a picture here I want to show you. We've got a close-up since we don't have the camera over there. So in picture number one, we've got just kind of an overall photograph of the general location. And in the photo number two, which I'm going to show you, is a close-up of how the holes end up laying out. Now, that's not a scene or a picture you want to see when you are drilling out the skins and or you know, getting your clecos in there, right? You want to have all these holes lined up nice. Well, if you've got the skins looking like the second picture that we're showing, well, your top hole is fine, but the one under it, the skin under it, you're going to be oblonging out that hole because now you're drilling a hole right next to the hole that's already drilled in there. And that happened because that underskin should have been on top of the skin that you're seeing on the top there. So it didn't have enough distance because we've shorted it by going under or over the wrong one. So it's real important to pay attention to the plans and look at, orientate the wing that you're working on, and we can jump back to the table over here, Major. Orientate the wing, you know, so in this case, this is the right wing because here's the wing root, and we've got the nose skin here, and then we've got the second skin here, and you see that there's a line there, and there's a line of holes on the edge of that line, and you're like, well, which one's which? Which one's on top of the other? And really what it should be is the one with the holes closest to the edge represents the skin that is on top of the other one. And in fact, if you look at the breakdown picture here, it's kind of leading you in that direction, as if this inboard skin would be here and the outboard one goes over the top. Well, what I did on mine is I had the inboard skin on top of the outboard skin, and that ended up shorting up those holes. Now the fix to that is, well, drill out the holes because everything else is already riveted. You know, I've got all the rivets on the bottom, and everything is lined up and matching. The only ones that aren't is on that line. So we're going to go ahead and drill the top holes through the bottom, which is of course going to leave us with a slightly oblonged hole under in the underlaying skin. But then what we'll do is we'll go between the rivets and the fresh metal, and we'll put a new rivet in between there. So thankfully, it's not a structural joint per se. I mean, it's the skins of the aircraft, but we're not on a rib. There's nothing under there. It's essentially hollow, and we're essentially mating those two skins together. So if you find yourself running into that situation, you know, don't freak out. There is a fix for it. And if you haven't riveted your skins on yet, well, then you can just go ahead and remove them. And again, this is that seam that's right here. We've got the inboard skin on top of the outboard, and it should be the other way around. So that's something that we will work on doing. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to be working on now is taking out the clecos on the nose skin, because we want to get this, the front of the wing opened up, because we need to deburr the spar. We want to clean out the chips and the dust that's in there. And then we're going to kind of start laying out both the fuel bay and wiring and all that kind of stuff. Now that's not all probably going to be covered in this episode, but we want to, you know, talk about it and start getting it ready to do. So I will go ahead and start taking off, get out the clecos and start taking out some of those clecos to get the skin removed. Let's see here if we got any questions. Frank had to dish up his dinner. Okay, this is an issue. One of the, where's the IPL useful things, putting on the right order. Yep, definitely. And that's definitely true, Frank. So like Frank said there, the IPL is part of the directions, right? It's part of the directions for the order of assembly with the parts, and some people are using both, and some people, I found that I got to a couple points where the IPL wasn't complete, and I started just going by the plans. And so, you know, definitely use the IPL where you can, and if you're not sure on a piece, then you know, ask tech support or call another builder. Too high? Oh, got it. All right, so, oh, here's my clecos way over here. So one of the things we can also do too, I'm going to put the plans back on the workbench, and we'll probably come back to this table here because I've got the angle that goes on the wing there, and we got to get some of those stickers off and clean some of that up. You guys have all dealt with the stickers before. I'll show you. These are all the, this is all the angle from the top skins. And you can see that we're always left with a sticker somewhere, right? We've got to get those stickers off there. And also it's a good idea to clean up any sharp edges. And you can do that either with a belt sander, you can do that with Scotch-Brite, sandpaper. We even have these edge cleaners that allow you to just basically drag it along the edge, and that'll pull off that hard punched edge off of there. What I've been doing for any of the stickers is basically I'll take a little bit of acetone and then I will kind of saturate those stickers. So I'm just using regular acetone you can buy at the hardware store, and I'll take a little bit and get the cloth saturated, and then just soak these stickers, you know, almost like you're trying to, you know, wipe a table down, get the water in there, but you're taking the chemical and getting those stickers saturated with the acetone, and then let them sit for just a little bit. So while you're working on another one, just let that one sit, and what happens is that acetone kind of soaks into the label, and then it loosens up the glue underneath. And then after I get it saturated, I just take one of my plastic panel removal tools, and I just kind of scrape it off there, and it comes off fairly easy. Now the longer you let them sit, obviously the easier they are. Here's a sticker on the back. And of course there's always that the topic of, you know, is this a end all, you know, if I forgot a sticker somewhere? No, it's not the end of the world, but you know, it's something that makes your parts look better, and we don't need any water or corrosion sitting anywhere, so why not just clean them off, you know. So again, a couple of these I'm going to do again just because they're not fully saturated. Get that like that. And we've had these discussions, I know with Zenith before, the sticker topic has come up. Everybody's got their own method. If they put an easy sticker, a sticker that was easy to come off, well then your parts might get mixed up because the sticker falls off too easy. So they use this sticker, and for right now, that's the method they're going with. So then what I do is I just take one of these plastic tools here. It's like a little plastic file, and I just scrape it right off. And it's much easier than trying to you know, sit there with your fingernail for 2 hours trying to take the sticker off. Now once you get it to where it's just the glue, then you just wipe it down again with acetone, and you can see here that that glue comes right off, and you got a nice clean part that's ready for whatever the next step is. In this case, it might be, you know, feeling these edges, finding any sharp edges and sanding it down. It could be priming and painting it. It could be deburring it, or all the above. So that's kind of what we do there. Now I've numbered all these per the plans, but at this point you kind of know where they all go because the wing is already drilled for these, and they kind of only fit in one position on the wings, which is actually a good thing because you can't really mix them up. They do kind of go in an order, starting I think it's like 8 or 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. And that represents kind of the quantity of holes on the part and the position on where the wing is. Get that cleaned out. Are we doing any new questions over here? Bob says he's checking his wings too. Yeah, it's an easy mistake to do, but again, you know, we're guys. We don't like to follow directions, so sometimes you think you know it all, and you're going along at such a nice pace, and you're clecoing stuff on, and you're like, man, everything looks great, and then one thing doesn't line up, and you're like, well, it must be something wrong with this part here, but really, it was just a matter of the skins not being long enough because it had to make a little bit longer route to go around the top, and we put it in the wrong position. So if I hadn't already riveted the bottom on, I would probably just remove it and do it over again, but that's the case, and sometimes there are little things that can be fixed on the fly, and it's not the end of the world. So got another sticker on the back here. I know Fred was joining in tonight. Fred had a comment about wings being the perfect topic for tonight. Maybe Fred will chime in and give us some input on building his wings, or you know, where you're at with that, or if you're having issues anywhere, or if there's any questions. Because it seems like we've all been there, done that, and some of us are done with them, some of us are further along. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, Scott says acetone and MEK is what he uses, and room key cards, got a lot of those. Mineral spirits, acetone. Yep, I've seen the squirt bottles. Those are definitely all great tricks of the trade, and probably easier than dumping a big bottle of acetone out on a rag. Just have your squirt bottle there. Matter of fact, I think that's what they do at the factory. And if you guys, if Roger's still in here, you got any tips on applying MEK, or is it the squirt bottle that works best? Is it the rag method? Definitely let us know. The best method would have somebody else do it for you. That would be the best method, but we don't always have that luxury of having a helper in the workshop. But we'll get these cleared off here. And Frank says, does anyone have a good suggestion for drilling the hole in the outboard fuel tank bay rib or for the fuel return vent? I'm trying to think what we'd use. I can't remember if we used a, I think I used a unibit if I remember on the first wing. I believe that's what I used, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's definitely a tight area there up at the top. In this case, on this wing, it'd be the top left of the fuel bay. But the on of course the left wing, or excuse me, the right wing would be the opposite side. So we're just adjusting this so I can see questions here. Yeah, Bob's got the right idea. He leaves the labels for his son and fiance to do. That sounds like a good plan. So, yeah, it's kind of a tedious thing, but it's all part of the build. Once you get them off, then you're trucking along with the, the assembly process. Like I said, I took apart the wing skins last night, and they're set aside right now. And then, of course, the next step of them will be deburring any and all the holes from the drilling of the spar and that. Now the skins were pretty much match hole drilled out, so there's not really a lot of deburring there, but you will find that there's always a little bit somewhere, and it's just better just to make sure they're all smooth and deburred. There's no sharp edges or anything like that. So it seems tedious, but in the end it's worth it, because you got a well-built airplane. Looks like Fred is expanding his work area. And yeah, that's also another idea. A lot of people have found that building them in unison, for instance, building both wing skeletons at the same time, then skinning them both at the same time. That's definitely, I would recommend that if you have the workspace. If you've got the tables and the workspace where you can, build both at the same time, you can have both of them level and all that, then I would say go for it. And that's nice. That takes off that little bit of a sharp edge where they've been punched or routed out. Takes that nice edge off there. So this one's looking good here. Yeah, so we'll continue on with that a little bit later. We're not going to bore you with just that. So we're going to cut over to the wing, and I'll grab the Cleco pliers here, and we'll jump over to the other table. I'm going to pull up the messages on this side. Oh, did it? Okay, hang on. Back up. Okay. All right. And we'll shut that down. There we go. All right. So yeah, we're back to basically everything here. Like I said, lined up great. We got the spar drilled out. It was just that joint down there at the very end that we'll have to address when we get back to skinning it again. Okay, well, I'll just move the other one over here then. Yeah, just give me a second, because I won't be using it probably on that table anymore. Give us a couple seconds here. We're going to just move a camera over on the table. Okay. We'll just slide this over here. Yep. Remember, we zoomed in, so let me just adjust that really quick, and then I'll aim it here. Yeah, I know. All right, guys, we just had to adjust the camera here really quick. There we go, like that. Okay. All right. There's always something that happens when you're doing a live here. I'm actually going to keep this down until I get to the other side there. Otherwise, this will be boinging up on me. Yeah, Bob says he eyeballed it with a ruler. That's another way to do it. I believe if I remember right, I got the tank in there and then tried to kind of mark it with a Sharpie, and then took the tank out, and then I drilled it out, and then I did it a couple times because I was trying to keep it as small as possible. And of course, I guess it depends a little bit on what. Well, I guess no, it doesn't. It depend. You're still gonna have the vent tank there, the vent line. I'm of course using the Viking engine, but I don't think everybody is. So some of that, there might be some differences between all those. How many of you on the call or on the video tonight attended the Viking workshop this last week or whatever it was? I know there was a few of you from last week that did. I have not been to one of the workshops. I've, of course, been to Oshkosh and Zenith several times and seen and talked to Jan and Alyssa. Great company to work with, and if you're ever contemplating the support and the just the all-around purchase of a Viking engine, I would definitely not hesitate it at all. And of course, I've boinged out the. There we go. Let that pop out. There we go. So here's our spar that was drilled up here. So it's actually not bad. There's a little bit on the bottom side, but we're gonna go through there. We'll get all this cleaned up and deburred. Yeah, actually, they're not too bad, really, not at all. But there are chips inside of here, and we don't want any of that, so we'll get our deburring tool and just run along there. Where did I just set that at? Oh, I just had that here. That's half the battle in the workshop, keeping track of your tools when you're in the middle of a build. There it is. All right. And we're just using the standard Avery Tools deburr tool here, but basically just giving it a turn or two. Just enough to kind of chamfer that edge, take off the sharp edge that's caused by the drill bit. Scott wants to know how many hours of labor. That's a good question. You know, I think it's a pretty fair, accurate statement to say that if you spent 40 hours on one wing, you would probably be pretty close. You know, the skeleton itself goes together really quickly. Obviously, the first one takes longer than the second one. There is a lot of rivets in the trailing edge spar, and there's some assembly you have to do on some of these ribs. But once you get all your ribs prepped and you cleco them and start adding them to the spar, the rest, you know, goes fairly quickly. But if you had a good solid 40 hours to spend on the wings, you would probably have most of the assembly of one wing done. Now, obviously, if you're in Roger's shop, I'm sure they probably knock them out quicker than that. And again, it all depends on how much time you're putting to it each day. So the hour number is kind of an arbitrary number, because if you can stay focused on something for 8 hours is different than if you work 4 days for 2 hours. You know, you just get more done if you're staying on task with the same, same task, same skill each day. You tend to, accomplish a lot more because you're doing repetitive work. You've got it down. When you stop and start, you kind of have to come back and figure out where you are, and you might skip a step, you might start on something else first, and it just adds to the time. So I would say if you've got, whatever your time period to work on your airplane is, just do it consistently, and I would say probably within a 40-hour time period or less, you probably would have most of your wing done. Of course, that doesn't count painting or anything like that, but assembly, because the spars are already assembled from the factory, and if you lay out all your ribs, make sure you do that right, because I did make a mistake early on with one of my ribs, reversed them. I was able to correct that. But there are a lot of the ribs and nose ribs that look the same, but there's slight differences. Obviously, you've got the slat brackets on some. Some have different lightning holes in them. Some have a bracket on the side. So really study those plans, lay them out, mark them all, double check them twice, cleco them on, make sure all the holes are going to, line up where they're supposed to before you start, permanently mounting them. And then once you do that, well, then that cuts the amount of parts in half for the second wing, which makes it that much easier. And then you're on, and you've already got the experience of doing the first one, so the second one becomes a lot easier to do. Scott says, so ways down the line for me, but I'm considering a Viking 90 for my 601. Yep, that's an awesome option. Fred, interesting shop. I got some more questions answered. Even picked up a few parts for my build. It was worth the trip. Yeah, that's cool. You make a vacation out of it, and you stop and look at some airplane stuff, so that's cool. Yeah, I was going to stop by their shop one time. I was actually working in Florida, and I just ran out of time and didn't get a chance to go. I was right by there, but I'll have to still get down there sometime. So sometimes, guys, we're going to be doing, a lot more just Q&A, and then sometimes you're just going to be watching me work here. So, but we're going to do hopefully a little bit of both. And as we get into some of the more interesting things like the cockpit and the avionics, some of the final wiring, the engine connections, the panel, the console, these are things that I think will be of great value once you see what we're doing there. So I've already made it all the way across the main spar. I'm on this little secondary spar here, and we'll still have to scuff up the bottom because there's still some burrs on the bottom here. And some of those you can get your deburr tool in, and some you can't because it's on the bottom. So we have to, yeah, and Bob says he is glad he is done with the wings. I know, that's, everybody builds their plane in different order, whether you're completely done with all your components or whether you started with the wings first. I was one that started with the fuselage first. I kind of wanted to see, we want to sit in there, we want to get it on the wheels, so that was the first thing I started with, and it's worked out so far. Again, a lot of it's going to depend on your shop space too. I've got enough space in here that I can really do either or, but some people don't. You might be building in a single car garage, or people have built in their living room or the basement to start out. So, could you build any one of those components by themselves? Sure, but then you got to get it out of there, and you probably can't assemble it. So, eventually you're going to need a space to work on, or at least to assemble it, and that might be your final resting spot, your hangar, or something like that. So, just keep that in mind. It's a little bit bigger than like a Sonics or something like that you could probably build all complete in a single car garage. This one is not gonna do that. I just measured the other day just because I was out here, and that horizontal and vertical, it's almost 10 feet tall when it's sitting in the shop here. So this Super Duty is not a small bird. It's a pretty big plane sitting up on that tall gear. So you do need to have some space. Now, you don't have to have the tail on, of course. You could take that off, but we are trying to get to the end goal of having this thing complete. So again, I'm just going over these nose ribs here. I'm looking for any sharp edges. Everything's looking pretty good. And eventually we'll get the skins as well. We'll probably hit those up with some sandpaper and then you know, potentially prime under there or use some of the Core-Tec. Couple options. There's been a lot of debate on that, whether or not you need to, you know, completely corrosion proof or prime the whole thing or prime the ribs. And I've had my you know, opinion on that. I've seen a lot of people just, you know, painting all the ribs inside green because maybe they think it looks like it's a Boeing or something, but primer is really for paint. It's not really a corrosion inhibitor, although it provides some initial surface corrosion protection. But if you're really worried about corrosion, then you want to use like a Corrosion X or a Cortex or something, and then you're going to want to do the whole thing. Obviously, if you're plain sitting on seawater or near seawater, you're going to want to have some of that protection because that will not be a good situation. Aluminum is inherently corrosion resistant, but you know, the areas where you may have sanded down or taken off the coating or, you know, what have you, you're going to probably want to replace that with something. And I've got a little guy here that's bent. I'll have to get that guy straightened out. Yeah, Bob says he built his wings in his son's garage. Oh man, he had an hour drive to get to them. Yeah, that's another thing too. I mean, workshop space, workshop time, you know, setting expectations of when you can actually get out there and work on it, and you know, keeping consistent with that is the hard thing. For me this year, again, I know a lot of you are like, hey, where'd Adam go? Where'd the videos go? We had a big home project going on. We were remodeling a basement, and we had other family things going on. Son was going away to the military. Daughter doing school stuff. So we had a lot of things going on, and you know, you find yourself, at least for me, I was at the you know, kind of on the mindset that I didn't want to come out to the shop and start working on something for 5 minutes to have to leave again, or get into the middle of some critical component and then forget where I was because I got interrupted in the middle. So, you know, for me, I don't like coming out unless I know I can work on whatever that particular project is for, you know, the duration of the project, or at least a good chunk of it to where I feel like I'm going to get something done. I know everybody's different. We got people that are retired. We got people that are, you know, building on the weekends or building with a friend. I mean, everybody's situation is different, and that's why it's like when people say, hey, how long does that take to build a plane? Well, how long are you going to work on it? You're going to work on it 1 hour a week? You're going to work on it 80 hours a week? You know, it's all relative. So, let's see, Scott, let's see. So Scott, Frank spent about 160 hours on the right wing. Still not absolutely fully done. It was enough to start on the left wing. So, yeah, I mean, again, the load time numbers are going to be perfect scenario, shop set up right, you're plugging away at it nonstop. Maybe you have a helper. You know, if it's your first time building, again, it's all depends on your skill level and, you know, time commitment. Do you have helpers? Are you good at reading plans? You know, some people do things a lot different than other people do. So it's really all what your comfort level is. But so I'm just kind of running my hand along here. Again, probably not the safest thing. I would recommend you have gloves on or something, but I'm just kind of barely feeling the edge of these with my finger on the inside. The outsides are all pretty good. We'll have a few things under here we're going to have to clean up a little bit. Some of these just fall right off with your finger. The flakes are just a little flake there and it comes right off. That's good. Some of them are going to require a little bit of sandpaper. So I kind of like to go through all of them first, because if I started vacuuming it all up, I'm inevitably going to be adding more chips or crumbs to the insides anyways, so I might as well just get it all done at the same time. So far so good. So what does everybody have planned for their Super Duties? Are you going to be utilizing that back seat for a passenger or a child or grandchild? Are you going to be hauling your dog back there? Or are you going to make it into a two-seat with a lot of baggage? I'm curious what people's plans are. Are you finishing the back seat? The Major will let me know if we get any answers to that. I'm sure, like many of us on here, we probably follow other channels, and if you follow Clear Direct, the backcountry bogey, he had a really good video released today on his first flight, and he's taking advantage of that whole new, you know, instead of flying off the 40 hours, he's doing the planned, you know, structured program of testing out the aircraft, so you can actually get it done in less than 40 hours. The back seat is for camping gear and the Malinois, if she behaves. Yeah, I don't think I'd put my Malinois in the back of my Super Duty. Definitely not if I ran into the gas station. She would eat that thing up. And yeah, where is that? I was just looking to see if you could see that. Where's Valor at? Come here, Valor. Come here. Right here. Come here. Yo. Sit. This is Valor. Can you see her on camera there? There she is. She's a good girl. All right, go lay down. Yeah, she would eat the cushions off that thing if I put her in the back of there. Now see, look, she's already taken off, gonna go sit in there. Come on, Valor. Go back over there. See, you give them a little rope, and they go crazy. So yeah, that's cool. I know a lot of people that travel with their pets. That's definitely a good area for that. Probably aren't going to have the nice leather in the back if you're hauling dogs around, but if you do, get a little cushion on there. Okay. All right, so how are we doing here on questions? Back seat for dogs, camping stuff, groceries, an occasional person, just like a pickup. That's exactly right. So, yeah, for me it was, you know, most people, I think somebody did a study one time. They did a study on four-place airplanes, and how often does a pilot fly with four people? Well, that's like hardly ever, you know. How often they fly with three people? Well, that was like third least. Two people was like occasionally, but it was like something like 70% of the time pilots are flying with just themselves in a plane. So for me, the Super Duty, obviously having a second seat was a must. The third seat is a plus because, you know, I can take kids, I can take an extra passenger, I can fly someone that hasn't been in a plane before. So I do plan on utilizing it as a seat, and because I've got the baggage belly pod on there, I can kind of throw some of those extra things that might be normally in the back seat. I'll have those in the belly pod, like ropes and chocks, things like that. So maybe light camping gear and things. Let's see. And Jerry's in here tonight. Hey, Jerry, how's it going? Making a lobster run to New England. That sounds good. Let's see here. What else we got? Anything I missed there, Bob? Let's see. Fred wants to know, where are we running our wiring and mounting your magnetometer? That's a good question. I'm trying to think. I'd have to refer to the Dynon unit to kind of see where I was at with that. I'll jump back to that on that one, Fred, and try and get you an answer on that. I know all the AHAR stuff is going aft of the hell hole. At least that was the plan. So I'll have to look at that and see where they recommend placing the magnetometer, because obviously if it's in a wing, it's going to have to be in this wing. So, good question. Go ahead and get the rest of these Clecos out here. It's been a while since I broke out the Avionics blueprints that I had kind of put together from planning out the panel, so I'll definitely want to review that before I give you any answers on that one. Yeah, looks like everybody's down for the lobster run. Is anybody in the group planning on putting floats on their Super Duty? I know we had, oh, now I'm going to go blank on his name, up in Alaska. Had one on floats. I'll have to look that up real quick because he did the floats up in Alaska, and they looks really sharp on floats. I know there was another Super Duty on Barnstormers that was for sale that had amphib floats. So definitely some float options there if you want them. I'm just finishing up this spar area here. Yeah, if you guys have any, if you guys have a want list or a wish list, or you know, it'll help us get ideas for future episodes, especially if we're working in the same area that you're working. We can definitely do a little research and have questions ready to go, examples, samples, video, you know, anything that'll help us all get this bird done, you know. Yeah, this deburr tool makes it nice and easy to get through there pretty quickly. It doesn't take much. It's not we're not trying to take away too much metal. We're just trying to take the edge off the holes. So depending on where we get between today's video and the next video, I will probably be in the middle of wiring possibly this wing and or laying out the pedostatic as well as the pedostatic tube itself. I know that's been covered in some other videos, and but we'll cover it in ours, and we'll have to figure out how to get this wing on the table so that we can you know, work on it to where we can get those things mounted and not hitting the bottom of the table, because obviously the pedo tube sticks out the bottom. So we'll have to get that figured out, but we'll do it. Then I think I talked a little bit about it in the last video, but my plan is once these wings are we'll call it like 90+% complete as far as, you know, everything but maybe the root, skin, the wingtip possibly. Wiring will be done, pitot tubes and all that will be done. We'll probably get to painting because we're kind of at a point now where if we assemble too much, it's going to be difficult to paint. And if, you know, so I would rather just get the painting done now while it's in the shop. And then when we go to assemble it and start rigging stuff, if we decide to leave anything together, we don't have to worry about taking it back apart for paint. So that's kind of my plan. For those of you who didn't catch the last episode, oh yeah, Ivan. Yeah, Ivan is the one in Alaska. Thanks, Scott. He's got the Super Duty on floats. Yeah, and he had an unfortunate incident. If you weren't aware, this is back when, right when he got the plane done, he had it tied up on a dock, and a big, strong wind came and lifted one wing up and flipped it over. But he already got it rebuilt and got everything replaced, and he's back to flying. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to is the flying videos, because there's not really much out there in the way of Super Duty videos. You know, we see Kit Foxes all the time, we see Super Cubs, but we just don't see a lot of action with Super Duties. And, you know, I used to think, well, they're new, there's not many out there, but we're seeing a lot of them be done. People that have had them for a while, they're up on the used market. So, you know, where are all these videos at? So we will definitely be shooting videos once we get ours complete. And if you've seen any of our other flying videos, that's kind of how Aeroworks got started, actually. We started out with doing flying videos even before really there was any YouTubers on YouTube doing flying videos. I think it was even before the GoPros came out. We had old camcorders that we were doing. So we would do videos, you know, flying videos and little training videos and stuff just for fun. And then it kind of went from there. So, all right, everything up front looks pretty good. I'm just kind of checking all these ribs again. We'll have to scuff up these holes here. There's a little bit of deburring that has to go on. But for the most part, I'm just going to jump in here to the plans real quick. Pop back over here and see if we've got any other questions. Bob says it looks like it has a small amount of flaps in all the time. Oh, that's a good question. Maybe for Roger or somebody. You know, why is it that when you mount the inboard and outboard flaperons together, that one's always slightly lower than the other? Is that an issue? Is that something that's wrong, or is that the way it was designed? I believe it's part of the design. In fact, we can take a look back in the rigging section. I think there's an acceptable amount there, if I recall. It's been a while since I looked at that, but let's take a look here. Okay, well, there's a good answer from Frank. Frank said he talked to Dianon earlier this week regarding the AHARs, considering putting it in the wing between rib 2 and 3. Running the wires in static line to it could be difficult, though. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, here is the flaperon section. I could have swore there was a spot showing the joint there, but could be wrong. But the good thing is, if you leave that question up, we will get an answer for you, and I'm sure some of the other builders will probably run into that same thing. So let's see. All right. We've still got a dozen or so people watching here. Again, you guys got ideas, topics, things you want to cover. We've already got some here. Obviously, the AHAR is going to be one. OST75, ZZ09. Yeah, that's where I just was. Okay, so it shows it. Let's see. Offset the trailing edges after the flap-around sections are bolted. Yeah, it does. Definitely does offset, doesn't it? So it's obviously a design. Probably has to do with like the expo. You know, when we talk about, yeah, and Bob says 20 millimeters. Yeah, oh yeah, right there I see it, right in the middle here. And we could show it on the camera here. I could take it over there. Yeah, from the inboard to the outboard, when you bolt those, the inboard flapper on with the outboard flapper on, the outboard one is like up 20 millimeters from the inboard one. So that probably has to do with, you know, the exponential expo on the ailerons from one going up and one going down, and the flapperons coming in. I'm sure that's a design factor there, but yeah, I can see what you mean, though, where it would look like you always got a little bit of flaps in there. Did anybody have any issues building their, probably more their slats than the flaps? I think the slats were the one that had the issue at one point. There was some transition between kits where there was a couple extra ribs in one or the other. I don't know if anybody ran into that issue. Yeah, see, Scott says he's putting his AHAR as an adjustable bracket in the tail. That's what I was planning on doing, so that's what kind of threw me off. That's where I was planning on doing it, you know, putting it on a bracket in the tail, because obviously the tail's like this. Putting on a little bracket you can level out, mounting it to a plate, and then running all your pitot static right there. So if I remember right, that's what I had planned now. So yeah, I know on a lot of planes, especially a lot of the sport planes, you know, they put them out in the wing. Really popular in like composite planes, they do that a lot too. I haven't heard any issues with it being in the fuselage as long as it's mounted properly. And Bob said the slats went together great for him. That's good. Let's see who else come. Frank's in here. Jay, Jim, Bill. Yeah, I appreciate everybody joining in. You know, it makes it fun to do. We got an airplane to build, but you guys have a plane to build. But if we can kind of bounce questions off each other, and again, as we get more and more build pictures, more and more flying videos, things like that, then you know, those are all things that we'll be able to help each other with. Frank says slats went together fine, but the tips are hard to do. Still be effective. Scott K says maybe the flapper on offset is to allow the ailerons to be effective in a stall. That could be. Yeah, like I said, I think it's probably just, it's obviously a design that they've factored in. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't have that 20 millimeter offset there. If it was like, oh, bolt these together, but hey, this guy's is off and mine's not, well, then there'd be an issue. But it sounds like we're supposed to have that there, so that's good. So the plan for me for the left wing, again, this one has all the same stuff that the right wing had in it. We've got the electrical wiring to run for strobes and nav lights. We've got a landing light that's going to go in, of course, the slat, but it's going to be ran through there, so we've got to get a wire ran for that. We have a heated pitot tube. Not that I needed one, but I figure why not? If you're going to do it, might as well put it in. I'm not doing an IFR plane with the Super Duty. I configured it more for VFR, but why not just have it in there in case you ever plan on upgrading the panel down the line. So we'll be putting the heated pitot tube controller and the pitot tube in, and then the pitot static system, obviously. So that's something that wasn't in the right wing. We're going to have the you know, all the tubes, the box, and all that stuff that's got to get from the wing to the fuselage, and then in the fuselage we'll have the AHARs and all the equipment that goes along with that, the wiring between there and the controller. And all of that. So we'll cover more of that when we do the wiring section. Just checking to see if we've got any other questions. So between this video and the next video, we'll have all that wing cleaned up. We'll probably reposition it to where we can get the leading edge off the table so that we can work on the pitot tube. We'll get the wiring done. We'll get it all cleaned up. We'll get of course, we have to get the tank installed and the fuel lines, which we've already done once. So we've kind of got that down now, which means we've got to get that cork installed in the tank bay on the supporting brackets. We'll get the skins cleaned up, fully deburred, sanded, get the angle that we were taking the stickers off of, get those riveted on the bottom of the skins, and then we'll just get that wing back together to where we're in the same spot as we are with the first wing, and then it's really just a matter of starting to button up all the stuff in the cockpit, finalizing sensor wiring. A lot of it was just ran temporarily for the engine run, so now we'll start kind of laying it out, getting our bundles where they need to go, get wires from the front to where the wings are going to attach for lights and power and things like that, the pitot-static system, and then of course we have the bay, the hell hole that they want to call it, the bay in the bottom where we'll actually do the AHRS unit. We got an ELT to install back there, and some great pictures on the group where people are mounting things, great ideas. We had somebody that installed the side door from the Experimental Aircraft Accessories for battery access. That's a great idea. My batteries in their front, or the front over here, the front behind the panel, but I know some people put them in the back. Totally up to you. Just some really great ideas, and that's why this group is so good, because we've got great ideas that may work for somebody, may work for somebody else. So a lot of really good ideas out there. So we'll keep doing these as long as you guys keep watching them. And again, if you do like them, share them with other builders. Leave a comment, ask a question. Obviously, the more people that engage in the videos, the more people will get recommended the videos to look at. We're not running ads on the video during the live because we don't want to get interrupted. There may be some ads, some small ads running in the playback, but that's something you can skip past if you don't like those. But yeah, I appreciate everybody joining in. Looks like we're at right about 8:30. We're trying to keep these to about an hour, and then we'll keep working. We've even contemplated throwing just a random live up during the week. If we're out here building something, we may just put the camera up and just let you, watch the build. Those wouldn't probably be as engaging as these, just because we're not going to be, we'll just be focused on building at that time. If we happen to see the questions, obviously we'll answer those. One of the next things I do want to get done, it's been on the burner for a while, is the cowling for the Viking, because one, the cowlings have been sitting on the floor in my shop, and two, I just want to get that whole nose wrapped up. So that's going to basically consist of building a disc that's going to represent the back of the spinner hub, space the cowling, piano hinges, all that. So we're going to cover all that. I know it's been covered on the Viking channel, but I don't believe they actually showed it on a Super Duty. They showed it on a bunch of the cruisers and some other models during different phases of builds. And those are all great videos. It's how what I'm gonna be used to get through mine. That's right, Scott. That was you. Sorry about that. Yeah, and the AHRS back there. Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like an avionics bay, right, on a big airplane. So love that. I definitely would have done that if I wouldn't have put my header tank back there, but that's why I put the access there, was for the header tank. So yeah, we're going to get this wing, keep plugging away at this wing, get it all deburred up. I'll have to fix that seam that we showed you there in the beginning, and add a couple extra rivets there. And then if I run into anything unique or special on the wiring of anything on the left wing, or the pitot tube, or anything I run in that might help you out, I will definitely cover that. And then, like I said, the next thing we'll be covering, which may be one of those midweek videos, would be the cowling, because I think that's something we could probably get done, in a day or two. I think we could probably cover that in one video and just cover the installation of that. I think most of it is just really getting everything fit, or getting that cowling up under there and held in position while you get a few of those hinges in there to start. And then, so we'll cover the building of the cowling. And then from there, it's really just going to be, with the two wings, like I said, 90% done. We've got the room in the shop to really start fitting those up. So we'll have to start working on getting the not the spars, but the struts measured out, cut to length, and bolted up so that we can fit these wings up in the shop. Because the plan is for the Super Duty here is to get everything built, painted, tested, wings rigged in my shop here before it goes out to the airport, because taking it further away is just going to delay the build, and I don't have the space for it right now. So we're hoping that we can get all the rigging done, painting done, tweaking and all that done here, maybe even the inspection here, so that when we're ready to move to the airport, all we're really going to be doing is taking the wings off, taking the tail off. You know, we're talking a few bolts, disconnecting some quick connects on the electrical stuff, and then taking it to the airport, putting it all back together, and get into flight testing. So that's really the goal that we're shooting for. So I'm just looking here to see if any new comments came up. I don't see any, so we're good there. Again, guys, there's a lot of good resources on the Facebook forum, the Super Duty Build Group forum. At the very top under the picture, you'll see media. If you click media, there's albums, and the albums are broken down by various sections of the aircraft. So we've got fuselage, we've got engine, we've got wings, and so on. And that's where I'm trying to put updated, high-quality photos of my build at least, and hopefully it helps you out. That way we've got just Super Duty pictures, because mixing between Super Duty and Cruiser and old pictures and new is kind of confusing when you look at the Google Doc. So we're trying to just keep it all Super Duty in this group. And that was really one of the main reasons for creating the Super Duty group, because a lot of people will be on the Zenith Builders group and they'll say, like, what is this bracket for? And they don't even tell you what kind of plane they're building. And there are obviously differences. So having it focused down to just Super Duties, we know that we're going to be talking the same thing when we're talking about the gear, the fuselage, the wings, and so on. So, hey Jerry, appreciate you coming in. And we threw up the link there for the group. If you haven't joined up, just join that. Again, we're at 992. We're about 8 away from 1,000 people. And again, like I said in the previous video, you know, I work really hard to keep that, you know, junk free, if you will. We get a lot of people have asked to sign up and they don't really have real Facebook accounts, or they're selling something or whatever. So if that was one of you that got denied and you just didn't have a Facebook page because you don't use Facebook, just shoot me a message through Facebook Messenger and say, hey, this is my profile, I'm really trying to join the group. Otherwise, you know, we do try and wean out the garbage. But you know, we'll have to pop some balloons for the thousandth member there when we get to that point, which will probably be this week or next week for sure. So again, guys, not super exciting. You know, we're building wings here, deburring holes, but it's fun to get on here and chat with everybody, and lots of good questions. We had a lot of questions on that AHARS unit, which is great, because obviously half of us are doing it in the fuselage and the other half think they're going to put it in the wing, which poses either some wiring or plumbing issues depending on which way you're going with it, because the plumbing has to go from the pitot tube to the box, and the box has to go from wiring to your panel somehow. So where do you put what to make sure that you have enough wiring or tubing in the right place is really the reason that question was posed. Fred, appreciate you joining there. Glad you could stop back in. Yeah, we'll keep doing them as long as we can. Now, there may be some weeks when we can't, and we'll try and let people know on the Facebook group, hey, you know, we're not going to do one this week, or we're going to do it next week in the middle of the week. But for right now, we're just shooting for these Saturday Night Live, 7:30 Central. Keep them to about an hour. If people are engaging and there's tons of questions, we'll stay on here as long as people want to stay on here. But for now, guys, we'll cut it off, and again, we may throw a random live somewhere in the week, but if not, just plan on them being on Saturdays at 7:30 Central, and we'll be live here in the Aeroworks workshop. And whether or not we're working on wings or cowlings will be something to look at and a place to all hang out and check. And hey, Brian from Experimental Aircraft joined in. Hey, Adam, fun night, Hangar Garage. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Brian. Always love what you guys are doing over there. Just watched a couple of your videos today, as a matter of fact. Scott, yep, thanks for doing the live streams. Appreciate it. So, yeah, guys, thanks for joining in. Again, it's Adam, Aeroworks Workshop, and we will see you on the next video.